For the now 20-year-old Grant Fuhrman continues today in a Winnebago County courtroom. He's accused of stabbing a school resource officer at Oshkosh West High School in December of 2019. In a First Word update, Emily Byer was in the courtroom today when we heard testimony from Fuhrman's former girlfriend.
Bill and Cammie, the state called a witness to the stand today after the judge took the weekend to decide whether or not he would allow certain questions to be asked by the state. The judge ultimately allowing those questions to be asked. Grant Fuhrman's ex-girlfriend Marissa Martin took the stand this morning. Questioning of Martin from both sides honed in on some Snapchat messages between Martin and Fuhrman. The conversations were extracted from their cell phones, including some deleted messages. Some of those messages show Martin talking to Fuhrman about having, quote, thoughts of committing suicide just 15 days before the incident. On the stand, Martin told the jury she didn't remember those messages, but she did remember a message that the defense wants to point out was never physically recovered during the cell phone extraction.
At some point in time prior to December of 2019, had the defendant ever threatened Officer Wissink?
Yes.
What did he do?
He texted me on Snapchat threatening to stab Officer Wissink with a pencil.
And what did he want to do after he stabbed him?
Grab his gun.
Did he say why?
No.
Martin adds that they were broken up at the time because she had given Fuhrman back his sweatshirts. Martin says she also reached out to Fuhrman, texting him at 9:44 a.m. on December 3rd, 2019, quote, "Are you okay?" Police were called to Oshkosh West High School to help Officer Wissink at 9:12 that morning. Court was dismissed just before noon today. That's because one of the state's witnesses was unavailable for today. The state will continue its line of questioning tomorrow. Reporting in Oshkosh, Emily Byer, Action 2 News.